morning and welcome to Armanino's webinar, Purchase Accounting for Acquisitions. This is Kathy Hawkins and I'll be your moderator this morning. Let's take a look at a couple quick housekeeping details before we turn it over to our presenters. First, please take a look at your webinar pane and press the orange arrow to expand the pane to enter a question for our presenters. Our goal is to be able to get to all those questions by the end of our time together this morning. Secondly, please modify your audio settings appropriately so that you get the best sound quality possible. And third, let's take a look at what it takes to qualify for California CE. To do that, you must use a personal computer, no PDAs, and log in with your own information and unique URL. Be logged into our online software for at least 50 consecutive minutes within the scheduled time frame of the webinar. Actively respond to at least 75% of the polling questions, and complete the evaluation survey at the end of the webinar. Now let's take a moment to introduce our presenters. Dirk Van Dyke is joining us today. He is an MSBA and ASA. He is a managing director here at Armanino in the valuations and consulting area. Dirk's got extensive experience in valuing tech companies, and today we're going to call upon a lot of his experience in his major practice areas, including purchase price allocation valuations, FASB ASC 805, and goodwill impairment testing for FASB ASC 350. Also joining us is John Dunnigan, CPA and consulting partner here at Armanino. John has extensive management, financial, and operational background, and we're really going to call upon his area of expertise in transaction advisory services, and more specifically some of the due diligence, purchase price accounting, post-acquisition integration, and process re-engineering. So with that, let's take a quick look at our learning objectives so we know exactly where we're headed. During today's webinar, we're going to take a look at factors critical to mitigating the probability of any unpleasant accounting surprises. We're going to explain the acquisition method and process, and then we're going to take a look at several key issues associated with the acquisitions. So valuation and tangible results, in-process research and development project, restructuring costs, contingent consideration, and impact of goodwill versus specific intangibles. And here's a quick look at today's agenda, and I'm going to pass the baton to you, John.
Thank you, Kathy. So we're really going to have four things we're going to look at today in the webinar. Accounting for acquisitions, I'll spend some time talking about that at the beginning. And then Dirk will really talk about the goodwill, contingent consideration, some other red flags to be concerned about. So that's kind of be the flow of the transaction. Be split. I'll probably take the first half, and then Dirk will wrap up the second half with the other three items. Before we begin, though, because we do need to do a number of polling questions throughout to get the continuing education CPE, we're going to start with our first polling question.
And that question is, are you planning for an acquisition? So this is simply a survey question to get some perspective around those of you that are joining us this morning. So if you'd please take a moment, even if you're not interested in CE, please take a moment to vote and give us an understanding of sort of where you're at right now with regards to this process. So it looks like we've got about 80% of our group voting, and the numbers are continuing to rise, so we'll give you just another moment. And we'll go ahead now and close the polls in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much. John?
Okay, so for the group today, up there they are, you can see the results. So most of you don't have an acquisition plan right now, which of course is fine. Although there are some with plans within the next couple of months. You can see the results there, and there's a few that aren't sure. And that's great. It's always good to have the background and knowledge, because transactions or acquisitions do tend to come up fairly quickly usually, so even if they're not planned, when they do come up, it's always good to know how to do the accounting and what some of the key items are. So with that background in mind, we're going to begin looking at some of the acquisition accounting. So the rules changed fairly substantially now about 3 years ago. So for those who were did transactions in the past. There may be some significant differences from the past. But just kind of by way of background, it is referred to as the acquisition method, as the accounting we use today. It's no longer purchase accounting. There's no more of the other types of pooling of interest or any of those that used to be applicable a few years ago. Acquisition accounting applies to all transactions or other events